people who want to start buying art, but they don't want to look clueless, neither do they want to just necessarily follow trends. Which direction should they head in?
For the first time collector, everybody says, what would you buy? And I say, it's back on you. What would you buy? What do you like? What do you respond to?
Let's go to where the drama lies, which is the fakes.
It's a dangerous market at the moment. If you're getting a good deal that's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Let it go. Please exercise abundant caution in today's market. It's a minefield.
Talk about when you were actually auctioning people off, which was the IPL and the women's IPL. How did that come about from art to sport?
We were just seeing Rishabh Pant's thing. From 2 crores, it went to 22 crores. When you're standing there, does your heart start pounding and saying, oh my God?
There are always players that have gone for far higher than people expected. Some players don't sell. Each of those players gets one chance, right? And so you want to give each of them the best. Story with.
Shweta, tell me very honestly, have you ever been to an auction, and more importantly, have you ever bid at an auction?
So I've been to many auctions, but I've been the bystander because I'm too scared to bid for something that I won't be able to afford. And I might have to sell myself. So
Welcome to What's the Story With, the podcast where we take a world people pretend to understand and actually try and understand it.
And today, that world is stylish, intimidating, dramatic, glamorous, and let's admit, slightly mysterious.
We're talking about the art world, and with us is a woman, shaped South Asian art markets, is currently the auctioneer for Pandols, and commands stadium-level attention with that gavel of hers.
Auctioneer, art expert, and the face of both the women's and the men's IPL team auctions. The ever so stylish, the talented
Mallika Sagar! Woo!
That's quite an introduction, guys. Thank you. I don't know what sounds worse, the art world or me.
You're going to tell us all about it. So, welcome,
Sure.
Mallika. We're so excited to have you here. Honestly, this is a totally new space for us, and we're so excited for you to fill us in.
Sure. I look forward to that.
Let's start the journey, Mallika. How did it all start? When did you know this was your passion, or this was the line, or this is the career you're going to pursue?
Well, funnily enough, it was my interest in college when I studied in the US. And I studied history of art for my undergraduate degree. And while I was still in college, I was lucky enough to work with Christie's for 2 summer internships. So it was wonderful. It was exciting. It was full of energy. It was hugely frightening because you were a very, very small part of a very large wheel. But that's how my interest developed. That's how I knew I wanted to come back. Once I graduated, I was offered a job in New York, and I worked there for 2 years. Modern Indian art was quite a new category at the time, almost unheard of in New York. Christie's had started sales of modern Indian art in London in 1995 and had done reasonably well, 1995, 1997, but it was very new. It was not a lot of money. It was not sexy. It was not what it is today. And so it was very difficult to get support within the larger auction house community that, look, this is a great area, collecting area, guys, and you need to develop it. So it took a fair amount of time and effort. We did the first sale of modern Indian art in New York in September 2000. I look back on those prices and it's a joke. We sold an absolutely outstanding Tayyab Mehta, 4 feet by 5 feet, or even 5 by 5 feet at that time, for the grand total of $10,000.
Wow.
I think you can add probably, a couple of zeros to that for anything you see today. And it was a superb work. It had it had everything. It had provenance. It came from a fantastic collection. It was a great period. It was exceptional quality, all the things you look for when you kind of try to value art and put it into auction and establish prices and estimates. That was just one example.
Tell us, when you were selling those, did you ever, for a question, did you think that you were underselling them? Did you think this was the journey? Did any of you know that how big and how, large this industry has become now in 25 years? Did anyone know it?
No. And I mean, I still can't live it down with close friends and family who say, but you never told us that this is what was going to happen. I said, but I didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So you actually seen the whole spectrum of growth with this whole.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, I must say, in hindsight, and all of us know what hindsight is, right? It's 2020.
Yeah.
You always think back and say, I wish I could have, I should have, I would have. I mean, all of us, I think, would have put a lot more effort into trying to acquire things at that early stage. You know, we had great people. I remember Arun Vadera, who runs Vadera Gallery, now retired. But he was the one who started the auctions at Christie's. And he was the one who believed in the market and the artists. And look, this is the way it's going to go and this is the way it's going to grow.
Yeah.
And you must support the artists and you must support the category in general. He pushed Christie's. He pushed Christie's from 1995 onwards. It's been a huge curve, as we all know, for the modern Indian art market. It's been a huge curve for auctions in India, going beyond Indian art. So it's been a wonderful 2 decades. And I think we were fortunate enough to be there at the right time at the beginning.
Just to dip into the auctioning part of it for a second, you're a young intern, you've gone into Christie's, now you've come to India, you're kind of surrounded by all this beautiful art, it's going somewhere, you're on the right arc, and then auctioning comes your way, auctioneering. It's auctioneering, right? Is that the correct?
It's auctioneering. You're absolutely right. And I trained in New York before I came back. So I was very lucky. I had the lady who was in charge of the auctioneer training program. And there's a very formal program at Christie's and at Sotheby's, I'm sure. And I have to say, she was outstanding. I went to her and I said, look, I just want to learn. May I come and watch? And she said, yeah, please do. So I turn up every Friday morning with my Dunkin' Donuts coffee and my bow tie and go sit at the back of the auction room at Christie's where we used to practice and watched everybody would come. The new auctioneers, the more seasoned ones who just wanted a refresher before a big sale or hadn't been up on the podium for a while. And I would just sit at the back of the room and watch them and absorb and learn. And a few months into this process, she said, well, okay, now it's your turn. It was like a deer caught in the headlights. And I said, oh, no, not now. So she said, put your coffee down and get up here. My first auction was 19th of November, 2000. I sold baseball memorabilia to a room full of very, very serious, diehard baseball collectors. And I knew nothing about it. And she told me very clearly, she said, look, you're going into a room full of very serious people who know exactly what they want. So, be careful and, don't mess around. But I think they also got a bit of a shock when they saw a young Indian woman selling a hardcore American sport, right? And sports memorabilia at that. But, chalk and cheese, opposites attract, everything worked.
How, was it to be, breaking the glass ceiling or coming into a world of male-dominated a career? I mean, you've never seen in India, especially at that time, a woman auctioneer taking over and telling them what to do.
Well, I mean, it was less telling them what to do, more kind of, helping them get to where they needed to get to. But I think in India, at that point, there was very little was known about auctions, whether they were art, whether they were sports, whether they were male auctioneers, whether they were female auctioneers. The only auctioneers that we saw in India at the time were the ones who would visit, from the UK. So my first auction in India was actually 2001 for Concern India Foundation. And that was unusual at the time. At that point, it got a lot of attention because you would not see charity auctions that were organized to raise money specifically for a cause. And so then that became quite popular because that became a way for nonprofits and NGOs and things to raise money by approaching artists at that time to say, look, will you donate a work to us? And this, you'll get the publicity and the catalog and things. And, the money will go to this particular cause. And we did so many auctions of that nature. There was no live auction just for purely commercial purposes in India at that time. Because at that time, don't forget, the collectors were largely dominated by the non-resident Indian population. It was not the local Indians, it was not the residents, the young collectors that you see today. I mean, there's been a sea change in 25 years where the NRIs, the investment bankers, the consulting guys, they were the ones who dominated the market. And they did extremely well.
I just remember that's how I started my career in Singapore in the arts. I did a visual art exhibition. And at that time, it was such a big deal. 25 years ago, and before we opened, it was sold out. And we had the president of Singapore come in to open that art exhibition. So people were excited outside of India a lot more than they were in India. And I still remember lying to my mother when I bought a painting for 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs, saying, she was like, what is this? I was like, it's a painting. And I was so scared to tell her that this is the kind of money we've spent on it.
Of course, because painting was, nobody understood the value of it, right? And I mean, if you talk to Dadiba Pandol, so his dad, of course, established Pandol Art Gallery in 1963 and was one of the first galleries along with Kemold to work with our first generation moderns, right? What we call Krishan Khanna, Akbar Padamsi. So if you talk to him, he'd say my dad would give everybody installment plans. If they had to pay 50,000 rupees for a painting, you don't say, come and give me 5,000 rupees a month. Don't stress about it. But that was the thing. You were not used to spending this kind of money on paintings, whether you went to a gallery, whether you were buying. This is, of course, way before, we even knew what auction meant. But that's where it all began, right? And it was kind of the foresight of these gallerists and these people who then kind of led the way and paved the way for all of us to come into the market and for the market to develop and set the stage for where it is today, really.
So let's unpack that a little bit. You said nobody really knew the value of that art. But what makes art valuable? What do you mean by having an eye for art?
I think at that time, everybody bought it because they liked it, which to me still remains the most important thing when you're looking at a work of art. Do you respond to the artwork? Does it resonate with you? Can you live with it every day and do you enjoy looking at it? It has to elicit a response from you. That is the whole purpose of art. It's very important, no matter what any expert tells you. So I think that is where the value really lies. So a lot of the collections in these early years were built by private collectors, and then of course early corporate collections that said, let's support the artists, let's put these works in our offices. Then I think we made life much more complicated, as we tend to do and we love to do, right? Then it became all about what's the correct work to buy, and let's decide how you estimate this work and all of that. So you start off with I think you just have to respond to the work, and instinct still remains a very important part of what we do. And as a collector, you have a gut reaction because you enjoy it. As a professional, you have a gut reaction on many other levels. But instinct remains a very important part of looking at art. Of course, then if you want to kind of get into the, educate yourself a little more, how are you planning to collect? Why are you collecting? And those are questions that will help you kind of figure out your own collecting journey. As far as us as professionals establishing the value of a painting, we look at a few different parameters. We look, of course, at the artist. We look at his career path. Where have his shows been? Who have his gallerists been? The exhibitions. What becomes very important for us today is provenance, what we call provenance, or the history of ownership of any painting. Can you trace it back from the current owner to when the artist painted it? How many hands has it exchanged? Has it been lent to museum shows? And unlike a stock, unlike gold, unlike diamonds, there is no fixed price. So if I may say something is valued at X, my colleague may say something is valued at X plus 10, X minus 10. And there is no real right or wrong because there's no science to this. There's no scientific formula. You can say, yes, Gaitondes are valuable and you value them slightly higher because there are fewer works in the market, what we call rarity, as compared to Souza or Hussein. So obviously, if it's rarer, it becomes more valuable, right? Obviously, if it's come from a museum collection, a very good institution, a very good collector, and then, of course, there's a kind of intangibles, what we call quality, the period of the work, what was the subject. You look at brushstroke, you look at the application of paint on the canvas, you look at the composition of the entire subject and the entire frame. And all those subjective things that come together And it's a basket of factors that we consider when we assign an estimate to a work of art. Can we be wrong? Absolutely. So,
But there's so many artists who might be good, better. That happens in every career. But I think in art, the difference is so much in comparison that somebody who's done something which is similar or as, beautiful. I guess it's a lot of luck. Does that counter? What catches the eye? Because, like you said, that it's not brick and mortar.
no.
It's not a stock. There's no formula.
I think in any market, a lot of it is a little bit of marketing as well, and a little bit of kind of what the gallerists pick, what the auction houses pick, what comes into an auction catalog, right? What is deemed as being desirable, collectible, the most sought after. And that comes from yes, of course, just the sheer quality of the artist and the artwork. With Indian art, there's always been the focus on the moderns, right? That first generation post-independence artists, the progressive and their contemporaries. So there is a slight marketing angle there that comes in sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly, but there is very much that core group of artists that have been represented at auctions since the beginning. For us, and I can only say this for Pandos, we have very consciously tried to widen that net and widen that group of artists that comes up at auction. So we will, every year you will see 2 or 3 different artists that have not been at auction before. That's the way the market is created, whether it's Homi Patel, whether it's Almelkar, we are not hesitant to try an artist. Adi Davyawala, who's one of our greatest sculptors. What you said is completely right. There's so many artists out there, and you have to keep pushing those boundaries, and you have to keep increasing that and widening that group. The auction business is wonderful because the market eventually decides the price. So, we could say 1 to 2 lakh for a painting that's worth 50. And, 9.9 times out of 10, that painting won't sell for any less than what it's worth, if not more. So that's the wonderful thing about the auction dynamic, right? You are presenting these artists and saying, look, we think there is a resale market for them. We think there is a demand for them. Because that's what a secondary market is. You're offering works that are hard to come by, and you want to create that resale and that demand. Let's see how the audience responds. Let's see how the collector base responds. And that's how the market grows and how the market is strengthened.
Which are some of the most exciting names in the current crop?
You've had Arpita Singh, who's done very well at auction, but also had her first show at the Serpentine in London. You have Meera Mukherjee, you have Mrinalini Mukherjee, you have an artist like Mohan Samant, who lived in New York for many years and was one of those artists who was kind of, the forgotten kind of early progressive. Finally, he's getting his due as well. You're seeing artists like Natwar Bhavsar coming into both art fairs as well as auction catalogs. And of course, there's so many within India as well, especially sculptors and printmakers. Krishna Reddy is finally getting a lot of recognition. Somnath Haur, again, printmaker and sculptor of exceptional quality from Bengal. I'm just giving you names as they come to mind. The point being that you got to push through Raza, Souza, Hussain, Akbar, Krishan, Gaitonde, Tayyab. That's your kind of staple. Then first we saw the interest increasing in Bendre, Jogen Chowdhury, Ganesh Pine, Heber. Then that's come down one more layer, one more tier down in terms of age and in terms of interest. So you have to kind of do your homework. You have to have the patience, the time to put in and say, what is the best value for me today? What is the artist that works for me?
I remember going through saffron art for hours and hours and hours. So this is, again, if you're interested in something, then you've got to dive in. I mean, if you had a crore right now, what would you buy? What would be that piece of work that you would invest in?
Something I think that I would truly enjoy buying probably is a Gaitonde paperwork, because I enjoy the artist's work. I've enjoyed reading about him, learning about him from Dadiba, who worked with him for many years, understanding his painting process. Though Dadiba still says today, I still don't understand his painting process. It was too complex even for me. But so Gaitonde paperwork, probably a Binod Bihari Mukherjee collage, which is a slightly kind of less obvious choice. But Mandira's furiously writing notes.
Yeah.
You can see names. And
No,
if you find a Binod Bihari collage, you let me know also.
Yeah, there.
You know.
She's saying if you find the collage, let her
You
know
let me know
also.
also.
I get you only to check it. But now, people who want to start buying art, okay, but they don't want to look clueless. Neither do they want to just necessarily follow trends. Like think about maybe a newly married couple. They've got all their wedding money, and they say, okay, what do we buy? Should we buy a piece of art? Which direction should they head in?
For the first time collector, I think everybody says, what would you buy? And I said, it's back on you. What would you buy? What do you like? What do you respond to? Then, of course, you need to do some basic checks. Anywhere you go, you need to make sure the work is authentic. You need to ask questions. Where is this work from? Please give me details. That is a very basic part of the due diligence that you should be doing as a collector and as a new collector. Then if you like something, I would really tell you very seriously to put in the time to just do a bit of reading on that artist, because there's no substitute for educating yourself. Do you like what the artist represents? Do you understand what his inspirations are, her inspirations are? See other works by that artist and understand why you're collecting that artist. Are you responding because you respond to the colors? I like abstract colors. I want a Lakshman Shrestha on my wall. That's great. I really like works that talk to me about Indian independence, about more serious kind of political topics. So it really depends where your interests lie. But there's two ways to do it. You could go with an established name, which is artists that you see at auction, or you could go to one of the several fantastic galleries we have in India today, who are showing some really terrific younger artists. You really have to look at what you respond to and what you like. And are you buying it as an acquisition because you want it to be more financial, or you want it to be what everybody else is buying? Or are you buying it as a collector because you're going to continue down this path? Today, there's a frenzy, right, to the market, as is demonstrated by the crazy prices we see. And I think so you have to stop kind of following the herd and kind of being part of the frenzy, and just taking a step back and making a very informed decision about each individual work of art as the individual quality of that particular work in itself. How does it relate to other works in your collection? How would you like your collection to develop? Would you like it to be a collection just of small works on paper? Are you looking just for 5, large canvases because you want to decorate your home and make it look vibrant? And then you're kind of, okay, I'm not going to, read up on these artists. So everybody's journey is different. Everybody's intent is different. So I think based on that is the way you kind of make those initial collecting choices.
And I think all houses being similar, it's the art that sort of differentiates, what your aesthetics are, what you're looking for.
It should be a reflection of yourself. Don't buy what I like. Don't buy what the next advisor likes. Buy what you like, because that's what makes it special. We can give you academic feedback. We can give you academic inputs. This is what it should cost. This is what a good quality work is. This is, this is what you should look for. I'll just end with saying I can't emphasize provenance enough. I can't emphasize a trusted advisor enough. Make sure you know what you are buying. If you're getting a good deal that's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Let it go. So just please exercise abundant caution in today's market. It's a minefield. And for new collectors especially, there is a lot of room for making mistakes. And, so don't be afraid to ask the questions, and don't be afraid to take your time.
No, it actually leads into what we're going next for.
Yeah.
You said, be cautious, do your work properly. So we're going into the world of fakes, the frauds, and the dark side. I mean, how big is this business of forgery?
Forgery, heist. I mean, they've dominated every space of imagination, of films, television serials, and now what happened in Paris recently. They're intriguing.
Yeah.
But very frequently, what I'm trying to say?
But they get away.
As a consumer of content, not having a criminal bent in mind. It's intriguing to see how they do this stuff.
I'm glad you clarified that, Mandana.
But But forgeries are such a big part of these things. One is, of course, to fool the new collector, and also from time immemorial, forgeries have always been effectively used to cover up heists, or etc. etc. So let's start with the forgery side of it. Like,
Yeah, it's a dangerous market at the moment. I can safely say we probably turn away as many works as we take in. So, and that's something that we are very cautious about. And if we are even in the slightest bit concerned about authenticity or provenance, as far as we are concerned, we won't include it. But I think some of it is very, has been done very deliberately. And sometimes you have people in the middle who just get caught up and are not necessarily aware of what they are selling. So there's a mix of that. But again, that just comes down to doing your due diligence.
And what do you do to, make sure you don't go down that path?
I would say, again, do your due diligence and ask the questions. You have to ask where it's come from. So the minute you buy at auction, you are a little bit protected, because just the fact that it is a public sale and it's a public platform gives you a little bit of comfort, and it's in that auction catalog for time immemorial and it stays there. That's also become a very clever way for people to legitimize works that are incorrect. It is a very dirty world, and we've had our fair share of
Please tell us, did you ever catch a forgery?
the first feeling that makes you suspicious about artwork, somehow.
So
And something
first
that's
of-
happened.
Many things have happened. We've and I think the big learning lesson is you have to always be on your toes, and you have to always be aware that any of us can make a mistake. Any of us. So you must always be 100% convinced. And if you are not convinced, it is better to withdraw the work than go ahead. And that's the policy we follow. You just have to be perfectly aware of, what's going on. And you have to be able to go back to your seller in the case of auctions and say, look, I'm not comfortable with this work. And obviously you must give good reasons, and you must, back it up with something. You can't just say, I don't like it. You have to have some explanation. Otherwise, it's not fair. Unless somebody is just trying to, be blatant and just, sell an outright fake because they think they can make money off it.
Are there any laws? Is there a place to go to for forgery? Like, is there a governance which is strong enough to get your money back? Or
So auction houses have a policy. You have a certain amount of time from when you bought the work, that if you come back with an academic opinion, or I think 2 academic opinions saying that this work is wrong, you are entitled to your money back if you have fit that particular criteria. And every auction house has its own policy that's very clearly laid out in the terms and conditions of sale. But there is no law. So it's not like you have to take it back. It's not like you have to give the buyer their money back. And very often, you have to put your faith in the gallerist that he or she will do the right thing. Some of it is luck, because you might just get, have a bit of bad luck, but you need to do your research. I can't emphasize that enough. And like I said, if the deal looks too good to be true, just walk away.
walk away?
Probably is too good to be true. Okay, one more murky question. After that, we'll go into the happy zone.
Oh my.
So there's a bit of a kind of a stereotype, or there are these assumptions or these kind of theories floating around that art is now also used as a means of money laundering.
There's two things. I think a lot of this has happened outside of India, where there are very strict money laundering laws, and there's a lot of KYC and things that have been put into place to avoid all of this. I think, as you rightly said, the fact that you've done the research and found that there are these anti-money laundering laws that have been put in place, and you can't sell unless you know A, B, C, D, E, and who it's going to, and all these, very strict banking regulations. I'm sure there has been enough scope for that in the international market. There's no question. In India, I'm sure maybe it happens, via cash for payments. But again, very outside of my personal world, because we don't encounter any of that really at auction. And Indian laws are very strict. We need a PAN card of everybody who comes through our doors. Everything is 100% check. It's a very open, transparent platform.
All good. Now we take you back to your happy
Yeah.
place, to the auctioneer
Yeah,
studio.
to the auctioneer studio, to the
Okay.
theatre and the kiosk. so let's go to the auctions, the theatre and the kiosk. Tell us one of the most dramatic, high intensity bidding war that you have ever presided over.
And we want an auction demo also at some
Yes.
point.
Oh my! Probably for me, the most nerve wracking is that the things will sell. Right, you need to get into that rhythm, and that has become much easier over the years as you get more comfortable in your own skin, and you get kind of your own personality, which is very important. But we've had some fantastic milestones for Indian art over the last 15 years. We sold a Gaitonde for the highest price. It was the most expensive work of art. I mean, you can't help but love that. And then, sometimes you see work sell for, 2 and 3 times their estimates, which you never expected. And that's the energy of an auction room. So I am particularly fortunate because I have a great set of colleagues who I work with who are on the phone, and we have people in the room and you have people online. But there's a great energy that you get from phone bidders, and that's what really builds the energy of a room. So you kind of feed off that. And for me, those are probably the best stories ever. And most dramatic, I guess, IPL, right? In terms of, because there's a human being involved, and it's, the records you've set, right?
Correct.
Whether it's, Rishabh Pant, or whether it was Smriti Mandana, or, these are such wonderful moments that you'll never get back.
But I want to ask you, even with secret bids, how do they work? And you have to have, secret bidders, these phone bidders, online people who are sitting over there, and you have to have your wits about you, on steroids.
Yeah.
Obviously, that will escape your eye.
You have bids in the book. You have bids on people in the room. You have bids on the telephone. You have internet bidders, which is, the most popular form of bidding today. And COVID was largely responsible for that. Sit at home and hit bid, and everybody loved it. It was made life so easy. And that, that's carried through. My own colleagues who are kind of executing bids on behalf of clients. So it's a full mix. And you have to keep your reserve price in mind, which is the minimum price at which you are legally bound to sell the work. You can't sell it below that because you have a contract with your seller. And then once you cross that, you have absentee bids that you're kind of putting into place for various clients. You could have a bid at 5 lakh and a bid at 10 lakh. But if nobody bids in between, your 10 lakh client technically will get it at 5 lakh 50, because you can't run them up without somebody counter bidding, bidding against them. So it's all those various things that, but that is kind of the, what you have to practice and what you just have to become familiar with.
I've seen the films, companies bidding, and then you get this phone call.
Yeah, auctioneering has always been, also, underworld.
It's all drama.
There's so much drama.
Yeah. And let me tell you, that's the fun of it, right? So, and that's the art auctions, right? Because they're all about drama. Somebody's whispering into the phone, somebody's raising their hand, somebody's saying no, somebody's saying yes. Then you tell the auctioneer, no, please give me 1 minute, please wait, this, that. So that's just the whole energy. That's the build up. And you have to kind of create the momentum. You have to keep it going so that, it's still lighthearted and enjoyable and doesn't become, very slow and
stressful.
Cumbersome. Yeah. I mean, I always say, unless you're bidding, to sit in an auction can be terribly tedious, because the fun is if you're bidding and, the adrenaline and the energy and one more bid, and there's a whole psychology, right, to auctions. And as, human beings, we are hugely competitive. You want to, just one more. I know I get just one more.
Have you ever been in an ego war? Have you ever seen two people get into like a situation where no, I'm better than you and I'm going to hit more? And she's being very, look at that expression. She's I'm not saying anything.
Take a line out of an American crime show and say, I plead the fifth. I'm going to say nothing more.
She's like, okay, I'm just going to speak your mind. It's like, this happens every day and that's what we feed on. But okay, you didn't say that, I did. So
that's the biggest driving force.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, now let's go to the big one.
The demo.
Okay, demo.
Okay. What are we selling? How about dinner with Mandira and Shweta?
Oh, okay.
right?
Will you please buy?
Yeah, no one's going to buy, but okay, fine.
Dinner with Mandira and Shweta to understand the inner workings of how you make a podcast fun and successful,
Ooh, okay.
right?
Okay, sounds
And
good.
so you have a brief description of our lot on offer. So as I said, we have Mandira, we have Shweta. Mandira has a background in sports commentary and lots of other things interesting and related to Indian sports. Shweta, I'm afraid to say I don't know much else, but I can say that I've had a terrific time talking to you for the past 55 minutes.
Well,
So give them the gap for sure.
That's
And
enough.
I'm sure they will keep you thoroughly entertained over dinner. And maybe we can open at 10,000. At 10,000, do I have a bid anywhere? Jaya, I don't see you, but I hear you nonetheless. At 10,000, I have Jaya's bid. 15,000, gentlemen, the very attractive gentleman who I'm sure belongs to one of you nonetheless at 15. Back to Jaya at 20,000, 25,000 now. I'll bid 30,000 just because it's been so much fun talking to you both. Back to a familiar looking gentleman in the room at 35,000. At 35,000 now, Jaya, can you come back at 40? At Jaya, will you come back at 40,000? Yes, you will. You're not giving up your two girls so easily, are you? At 40,000. All through at 40,000, then do I see Mandira's spouse coming back at 45? He may have a heart attack if we tell him that, but definitely he's coming back at 45. And why not? And why not? At 45,000, both of you will have the pleasure of dining with the gentleman in the room and selling then at 45,000. Mo, she's all yours at 45,000.
Way to go. Good, good. Look at that
That's
energy.
just,
I wanted to bid for myself. By the end of it, I was like, I'll bid for you, you bid for me. Let's just go for dinner with each other.
Like we don't do that 24/7.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, too good.
Let's talk about when you were actually bidding, auctioning people off, which was the IPL and the women's
Yeah.
IPL. How did that come about, Mallika?
Yeah.
From art to sport, and
So-
yeah.
But actually, my first sports auction was Kabaddi. And I still do the Kabaddi, the PKL, the Pro Kabaddi League. So I started in 2021. That was just my first introduction to various sports leagues, etc. And then I did Kabaddi in 2021, and it went off quite well. And from then we moved into the WPL from 2023, and then the IPL for the last couple of years. So yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm a sucker for punishment because it's high stress. It's high stress, and I'm not thick-skinned, so.
So
It's,
Kabaddi, then women's IPL, and then the men's IPL.
Yeah,
Was that
Kabaddi,
the trajectory?
Women's Premier League, Men's Premier League.
Men's. Wow. So
Yeah.
what were the highlights? Just give us some stories which made it super exciting and some moments or stressful. Like 2, 3 and what surprised you?
At first, I was just surprised with how many people watched and how big it actually was, which is a bit
Right.
overwhelming. And that's what makes it stressful, right? And so you have to be really mindful because you've got it's a high tension kind of situation. You've got teams who are looking to team owners who are looking to build their teams. There's obviously going to be disappointments for some, wonderfully exhilarating moments for others, and you've got to balance those quite well. You can't make everybody happy.
When you're auctioning at Pandos or any of the art auctions that you've conducted, there's so much preparation that goes into it, but preparation in a realm that you're very familiar with, right? Like whether it's studying the artwork, determining the value, etc. So that's one part of it. Sport is an entirely different beast. So what kind
Totally
of
different.
preparation do you need to have or to do to be able to conduct the auction successfully?
So, on the most basic level, you have to understand the rules of the auction, right? And each league will have its own rules. So you have to be, quite familiar with what the organizers would like, what they were hoping to achieve, starting prices, increments, how you're going to, the categories and how the players will come up, all those different things. You must kind of familiarize yourself with all of that. Make sure the names of the people you're auctioning. I always kind of highlight pronunciations that I may not be familiar with. Some of them may be Indian names, some of them may be overseas players, but it's always nice to do a bit of prep make sure that you are, quite ready, because, each of those players gets one chance, right? You're on screen, it's your face, it's your opportunity. And so you want to give each of them, whether you're a marquee player or you're a first time uncapped player, everybody kind of deserves that shot. And a lot of
Yeah.
that again is just instinct and just, seeing how teams respond, etc.
But there's so much energy that you need for this. You just have to keep everybody so hyped and excited and, get with it. It's a lot and it's amazing. You do a fantastic job. We were just watching some YouTube videos of yours earlier and we were like, wow.
And I'm, very lucky that and fortunate that I've been able to do it for 3 seasons for the women and 2 for the men. Your biggest job is to make sure your team owners are happy at the end of it. Everybody's had a fair chance, and that's what you have to. That's your takeaway. So I think that makes my day.
No, but it's like, we were just seeing Rishabh Pant's, thing from 2 crores, it went to 22 crores. I mean, does that 27.75 or something like that? I mean, when you're standing there, does your heart like start pounding and saying, oh my God, I wasn't thinking it's going to cross 10 and now, not him, but
No, I don't think. No,
shaken up by
because I
any of
don't
this?
go in.
No.
I don't go in.
Thinking.
You don't go in with any
Yeah.
preconceived idea, right? Because it's not up to me to make that decision. So, and the prices, I mean, that's kind of, the icing on the cake. That's wonderful. Great for the players, great for the teams. It makes for, wonderful auction stories, more so for
Yeah.
the players, right? So it's
Yeah.
lovely to see their reactions actually. When
Yeah.
the women's Premier League was being done for the first time, and the whole team was together. They were in South Africa, and they were watching the auction on TV, and you used to see their reactions as each individual
Yeah.
member. That is actually the wonder of. I mean, what I do
Yeah.
is kind of just
Yeah.
the middleman, right? So it's wonderful to see their reactions and how
Yeah.
they respond and how excited they are.
Yeah. And there must be some amazing stories. I mean, again, you hear of these things that people's lives change right in front of you because
Absolutely.
of their worth. Yeah.
Actually, that
I
is
didn't think of that.
really lovely. And you've seen how, especially for the women, right? For men, I mean, for the men's players, cricket has always been huge. But for women, you've seen it. The interest going, the interest increasing every year. The opportunities that they are now being presented with, as they are recognized as sports people in their own right. One of the players I remember played in the rice fields. One of the players had to cut off her hair and pretend to be a boy in order to play. All these different stories where the parents have gone through huge hardships to put their child through training, or in some cases have been so upset that their child has decided to play cricket. And then you've got this recognition. They bought flats, they've bought cars, they've bought, it's like, what? I am financially independent. It's empowering, and I think that is wonderful, because then you see that effect literally go across the country into every village, because it's part of our DNA. I mean, cricket is part of our DNA, and I think that's just, and I think it'll only get better from here.
True. Brilliant. Wow.
Okay, rapid fire. Hammer time.
Yeah.
So basically, you have to say whether it's genius or gimmick.
Okay,
I'll start with the first one. NFTs.
gimmick.
AI generated art.
Have to say gimmick probably.
Jeff Koons. Not that I have the faintest idea of who Jeff Koons.
Yeah, we were going to.
Genius.
Banksy.
Genius.
Minimalism.
Sure, why not?
Okay. Another quick question before we close this. I mean, we've spoken about, younger generation, coming and buying art, but there is also this whole movement going on over experience, over buying things. Do you see that? Do you see a change in the
What do you mean,
the buying
experience over-
power? Like maybe taking a holiday instead of buying art.
I will say that in India, there is a huge, young, emerging body of collectors who are very keen to learn more about art and buy art. So I think they go hand in hand. It's a growing number of young people who are coming into their own, are getting to a point where they have enough disposable income to put it towards something which is, more pleasurable, like buying art, as opposed to, necessities that they have to kind of look after first. And you're seeing it. And the access that they are getting in India through art fairs, which are, more and more popular now. We had Art Mumbai just now, which was fantastic. We have the India Art Fair in Delhi, which is great. It allows you to go out and see it and want to be a part of it and want to learn.
Yeah.
You spoke about resurgence. What according to you, has caused that resurgence and this explosion of South Asian art and the excitement around it?
It starts with our economy, right?
Yeah.
So we've moved from primarily having non-resident Indian buyers 25 years ago to a market that is largely dominated by local buyers, which is superb, because you have more than one or two people who are willing to put in large sums of money at the top end of the market, right? Where we always had to look in the past to international Indians or non-residents for that, or even just international collectors. That's all very firmly here now.
Yeah.
And you see so many new foundations coming up, private foundations, museums. Of course, you've got KNMA in Delhi, you've got MAP in Bangalore, you've got, different, the RMZ Foundation, you've got Humpy Art Labs, which JSW has done to, have artist residencies. So there's so much of interest now and so much being poured into creating these, creating storehouses and resources that will kind of remain long past the person who's begun, that collecting process. The economy allows you to do that. You see an opportunity, you see it as an opportunity where you can, make it some profit making in some way, but it's also an opportunity to educate people and preserve our heritage, preserve our culture, encourage artists, provide them with opportunities to paint, residencies. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. There's so much you can do. And we're just beginning.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Wow. Mallika,
Thank you,
really,
Mallika.
thank you. This has been an amazing masterclass and also weirdly comforting. Art doesn't seem so intimidating anymore.
There's something for everyone to take away from here. From what I've understood, and I've been making notes, by the way, is that diligently, that if you have a budget, own it. It's not a crime to have a low budget.
Yeah.
Choose art that speaks to you, that responds to you,
That you love.
check the provenance of any serious piece of work, especially. Check the provenance, check the origin, make sure it's come from somewhere legit. And if the deal is sounding too good to be true, it really probably is. It's best to just leave it and walk away from it.
Absolutely. And that was What's the Story with Auctions. Stay curious, stay bold, and may your walls always be beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.